Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Michael Capple straight up 2 o'clock. Got Meet the Freshmen to get to. Luke Johnson going to join us at 2:30 from Saints camp. Got a segment coming up in 30 minutes. Most indispensable player on this LSU team. I'll let you kick that around if you're going to be here in 30 minutes and see what you think. We'll get Beck's thought on that as well. ESPN came up with their top 100 football players in college football this season. I've got some thoughts on the LSU guys on the list and also some of the guys that LSU will see. That's pretty interesting. Beck, I got to tell you, I'm feeling like a real talk show host today.
Yeah.
Every day I bring a cup that I fill with ice water, and it's usually a big, like 32-ounce type deal.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot this morning. It just didn't happen.
Oh, no, the coffee mug.
Tiger Labor and Staffing, great sponsor of the morning show. They do an awesome job. Reed Brunson is a guy that we have contact with, and he gave me this a couple of weeks ago, and it's been sitting in my office. I don't drink coffee. I've never had a cup of coffee. However, it's the only cup that I have at my disposal, and I need water on the set. So I've got a coffee mug here on the set.
Wow.
And I feel like that's what talk show hosts do. They just sit there, they drink coffee, they have a conversation, and I've never felt like that before because I don't drink coffee and don't have a cup. I'm not Hester. I don't drink 6 cups a day. I drink 0 cups per day, but I'm feeling very talk show hosty. How do I look more talk show hosty with this mug?
Yeah, you do. And I have always wondered though on those morning talk shows they have the coffee mugs. Is it always coffee? Like do they
You think there's bourbon in there?
Could it be water? Could there be some extra like additives in it?
Well, on Friday mornings on our show, it's champagne.
It
so
is.
you never know what's going on.
Yeah.
I feel like Regis Philbin today. That's who I'm feeling like.
That's good.
We'll see if I have a performance that's worthy of Regis's name. Let's get into some LSU football. Brian Kelly spoke with the media yesterday. We talked about a couple of his comments yesterday on yesterday's show, specifically with Kevin Peoples and his impact. I had some injury updates as well. But I wanted to get a little deeper, and we actually have the sound today. We did not yesterday. So I want to talk a little defensive backs. I think I've gotten some response via Twitter, via social media on my comments earlier this week about the LSU defensive backs. And I just kind of want to continue that conversation. I think it's going to be very, very important. I feel good about where LSU is on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know that I would toss the word elite around right now, but I feel like the pieces are there, and I trust that coaching staff. I'm seeing some things from the defensive front that I like, and I've been pretty bullish on the linebackers since the start of camp. It's the DBs that I'm looking to see more and more out of every time we go out there, and I think Brian Kelly kind of feels the same way, and he talked about what he needs to see from these corners.
We haven't put up a depth chart, really. We're rolling out different guys, and I think Corey's looking for the same thing that I'm looking for. Who's able to stack days together consistently? Instead of, I had a good day today, but I didn't have such a good day yesterday. We just need to be more consistent. I think it's just this group now it's about, this is probably not a great analogy, but, we're getting close to like moving day, like in golf. Like these guys need to understand that over the next few days, this is where, we need to see who are those guys that can stack days together. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's kind of moving day for us. We need to see those guys that are going to stack days together.
There's a lot in that bite, and shout out to T-Bob for nailing the moving day analogy this morning on the morning show. Hester didn't even give it a shot. They're not golf guys, and T-Bob absolutely nailed it. It is time, because when they report to practice on Monday, like you start going at USC. Like that is 2 weeks out from game day. That is time to start preparing. Right now, people are trying to win jobs. Monday, they start kind of game planning. And so if you want to be part of that game plan, it's time to go this weekend. They're going to have a scrimmage type situation this weekend. Media's locked out. Like they're going to get into it this weekend. And it's time for some of those cornerbacks, as he said, to start stacking days. I'd like to see him stack reps, quite frankly. There have been days where I didn't think they stacked any reps, but there have been days where they've been better. And you figured, as of probably August 1st when they reported to camp, that Zy Alexander and Ashton Stamps were probably the two guys who were going to be the corners. Well, we got out there on August 1st, and Zy Alexander had a big old brace on his knee, and he wasn't doing much. And they've eased him back in, but he's still not a full go by my eye. But Brian Kelly talked to what he's seen from Zy Alexander through these 2.5 weeks.
Alexander, I think, is getting better by the day. I think it's just a matter of he just needs more reps and more confidence. Coming back off of an ACL at that position is probably, if not the most difficult, I think it's probably the most difficult position with, the change of direction, plant, drive, all those things. He's a different player than he was the first day out here. I think there's a lot more confidence. So he'll keep getting better.
Look, I'm not an orthopedic. I don't have a very reputable medical opinion, but I would suggest, like, with the issue with the ACL and the planting and the cutting, corner and running back, where you plant, cut, and you get tackled, those are probably two of the most difficult positions to come back and feel comfortable and confident doing your thing. And they're easing Zy back day after day, but you're getting close to 2 weeks to game time. It's time to let it roll. Stamps is the guy on the other side, and I have, for the entirety of camp, said he's probably the guy who's the number one corner at this point. And so what do you need to see from him in terms of man coverage?
You ask any corner, they all want to play man. There's not a corner that wants to play, zone coverage. I think they're the best at that. And that's good, right? I mean, you want that kind of mentality. But, defended balls, pass breakups, his numbers were best in camp. So, I think he feels comfortable being out there. He's moving well. He's pain-free. He had some nagging injuries last year. So I just think he feels confident out there. He's stronger. He's had a real good year in the weight room. And I think his confidence is high that he can play in the SEC against the very best because he goes against them every day.
There are some guys on this roster, throughout the entirety of the roster, that I will evaluate them based on body of work in the past, more so than what I see over an hour and 15 minutes at practice. Ashton Stamps doesn't fit into that bucket because he was asked to go out there and play corner in the SEC as a true freshman who was kind of under-recruited. Like, that's a really tough way to get introduced to college football. Now, if you've been out there for 3 years and I've seen a sample size, I'm probably going to cling to that a little bit. Talking about 3 months as a freshman where you're dealing with some injuries, I'm not holding that against Ashton Stamps. And I think he's a good player. I clearly think he's been the best corner in the media periods, and Brian Kelly says when they chart it, he's looked the best. I just don't know if Ashton Stamps is a number one corner right now. I really much hope to be proven wrong. Again, this is not a shot at Ashton Stamps at all. It's the opposite. He's the best corner they got. I just don't know if that is all-American caliber play at this point. He's got to continue to get better and better and better. That's for sure. Kelly spoke to the entirety of the defense and kind of working on details.
I think it's much more about the finer details. Blake brings a lot of energy and enthusiasm to the group, but having said that, we're still work in progress when it comes to the finer details. And I think Blake would tell you if he was standing here right now, it's about getting lined up. It's about the fundamentals. It's about making sure that we're communicating effectively. And, we don't want to mistake activity for achievement. We really have to get that from our group. And so we're demanding the right things. We're asking for the right things from our players. We're certainly getting upticks in performances from players across the board. But as a unit, 11 together, that's the next thing that we've got to see an improvement in.
When you are at this point where LSU's defense is, and we all know what we saw last year, you understand that. When you are at this point and you're trying to get back to respectability before you get back to dominance, the first step there is making sure you're in the right place. And that's what he's talking about from a detail perspective. They're going to miss some tackles. They're going to misplay the football on an out route. There are going to be situations where you might jump off sides or commit a defensive holding trying to cover a really good USC or Ole Miss receiver. Like, that stuff is just going to happen. You don't have to bust 2 coverages every game. You don't have to grossly misfit a run every drive. The first step here is getting in the right place. And once you're in the right place, you can start making plays. But to get to respectability, that's what he's talking about. We've got to get the details right. We've got to communicate pre-snap. We have to understand the assignment, and we have to be in the right place to start to try to make the play. That's my hope, that their first step comes there. And quite frankly, Lincoln Riley's not the first guy I'd want to go up against when that's the first thing you're trying to do, because he's pretty good at putting points on the board. But those are the cards you're dealt, so you got to go play them. The corners we know are in flux. You're dealing with some younger guys. You're dealing with some guys coming off of injury. You're dealing with some guys who are cross-training corner and safety. But safety is another piece to this puzzle, and that's been a pretty consistent mix to this point, with Major Burns going down to star, and then Jordan Gilbert and Jordan Allen playing the majority of the safety reps for LSU, and he talked about their development.
We've got to continue to stress them in tackling. That's really going to be a big piece for us, is can we erase some mistakes up front? And when we say mistakes up front, if we cut a gap loose, if there's an issue up front relative to a run fit, can those safeties erase for us? And we're not there yet. We need to continue to evaluate that. You know, we've got a young group that we're trying to get as many reps back there as well, with the veteran guys out there, Jordan and Jordan. Those guys are doing a really nice job, but we got to continue to get the young guys some reps as well. That will be the next stage for us in the development of the safeties.
He's talking about Deshaun Spears. I think Kylan Jackson's a very promising player as well, and he's got a year on him. But I think Deshaun Spears looks like the next dude. And Jordan Gilbert had a nice go of it early in his career at Texas A&M. He's a veteran. He's played in the SEC. He knows what to expect. We haven't seen a lot of Jordan Allen, but that's the guy they trust right now to go back there. Wouldn't surprise me if late October, mid-November, you saw Deshaun Spears start to play more snaps. Maybe in the Nichols game, you see him a lot in the second half. Maybe you can put South Carolina away. I know it's asking a lot on the road, but maybe, and he can get back out there. I'm not asking him to play against USC. I'm not asking him to go out there and defend Lane Kiffin's offense. Those are pretty early games. But by the time you get to the back end of the schedule, maybe Texas A&M, maybe Alabama, maybe by the time you get to Arkansas, he's potentially a guy to look for that could be in the mix. But what the safeties got to do, he's talking about, get up there and clean up some mistakes. They've also got to communicate.
You know, I think we've done a pretty good job relative to the communication. That was going in something that we were concerned about. I think that's been a piece that I think has been really, from my end, a pleasant surprise. We've gotten good communication. We're not in a position where we feel like we're not getting the right calls and executing the right coverages, and, obviously coverage fits back there. So that's good.
One day, I hope that they get their feet wet against Nichols before they go play USC, but that's not the card LSU has played the last 4 years. They've played Mike Leach, they've played Mike Norvell, and now they're going to go play Lincoln Riley. There's no figure this out when you get there. You got to figure it out now. Communication, lining up, and understanding where you're supposed to be, it's paramount. And I'm happy that Brian Kelly is talking about the fact that he's been pleasantly surprised, because you just heard him in the previous bite say that we're not there in terms of the safeties cleaning everything up. In the bite before that, you heard him say, we need cornerbacks to start having consistent weeks instead of one day off, one day on. So he's being candid that some stuff is good, some stuff is not. And he likes where the communication is. And like I just said, that's step one. So that's an encouraging thing. I thought the defensive back portion of Brian Kelly's talk yesterday was probably the most interesting. We wanted to get that sound to you. So if you just got in the car and missed a little bit of the Brian Kelly sound, you can catch it on demand, Hunt on LSU on YouTube, or wherever you find your sound on the audio side of things. How many top 100 players in the country per ESPN are quarterbacks on LSU's schedule? And how many does USC have? Plus, who are the LSU guys on the list? ESPN's top 100 players in college football. We'll do that coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about our friends over there at LeBear's Baton Rouge. That's because It's the place to do all your exciting live sports viewing as the summer months come to a close. We got the biggest screens around, and ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. Plus, Pin Play Rewards members can win up to $500 in Pin Cash every single week. If you're interested in winning that $500 in cash every single week, all you got to do is visit pinplaysports.com/cover5 today and register for your chance to play and win. If you're not a member, get the Pin Play app today. Get ready for football season. Download that app. LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino is your live sports headquarters. You can bring your crew for all the action. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way.
Charles Hannegriff join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road. Troy Macker from Bet Rivers, Bruce Marshall with us from Las Vegas, and we're getting you ready for the second weekend of preseason football. Live at Lunch from Ruffino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out to the folks over at Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. We'll talk with Luke Johnson at the bottom of hour number 2. A little bit of breaking news there on Saints front that is not positive. Taliese Fuanga left practice today with an apparent back injury, did not return. We'll get Luke's thoughts on that in an hour and 15 minutes. I just saw that tweet come across from Nick Underhill of NewOrleans.football. They just can't have that because I don't believe Trevor Penning is the right tackle in this team. I gave up on him on Monday. It's actually Saturday, but for your purposes, on the air, it was Monday. And so I don't think they have a right tackle. I think Landon Young's going to have to do it. If Fuanga's out for any extended period of time, which we don't know, this is all brand new information, but he did leave practice. But if there's something significant, and back injuries are not a lot of fun, I don't know what they do on the offensive line, and I don't know that it's that fixable. Like, you can go sign some guys off the street, but like, it's a bad deal. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. ESPN came out with their top 100 players in college football entering the 2024 season. We'll start with the LSU guys. You know who they are and about where they rank on this deal. Will Campbell's number 6, Harold Perkins is number 14, and Emory Jones is at number 46. Those are the 3 guys that have shown up on all these watch lists, all these preseason All-American deals, all these lists, all the mock drafts, all that kind of stuff, and that's to be expected. But I thought I'd go a little bit more in depth and just look at how some of the things that were interesting to me on this list. First of all, how many of the top 100 players are quarterbacks that LSU will face? Well, the answer is 4. 4 of them on this list. Jalen Milroe is number 22 on this list. I really, really, really don't know what to make of Jalen Milroe. I never shy away from a ridiculously bad take. I give them quite often, and I'm right on back here to back them up. I said after 3 weeks last year that Alabama, of the 14 teams currently in the SEC, had the worst quarterback spot. I included Vanderbilt in that, included everybody in the league. I said Bama's is the worst. And to that point, I had seen Milroe throw some deep balls against some Renowin in the opener. I had seen the Texas game where he threw a terrible interception in the red zone. I had seen him get benched and then come out and play pretty mediocre against South Florida. Like, I thought this guy can't throw. He runs a little bit. He's taking a bunch of sacks. He throws a pick in every game. And they've tried other guys, and they're even worse than him. This is the worst quarterback situation in the SEC. And that was incorrect because Jalen Milroe played good football the rest of the way, and they made the playoff. They won the league. So that was a stupid thing to say by someone who's sometimes kind of stupid. And I still am not ready to say, man, this guy is a Heisman Trophy waiting to happen. But he is massively talented because, as we saw last year with Jaden and as we saw last year in the Alabama game for LSU against Alabama, like, he's hard to tackle. He runs incredibly well when they let him, and he does throw a pretty good deep ball, and he did throw it better as the season went on. But, like, would I take him over Quinn Ewers? Probably not. Would I take him over Carson Beck? Probably not. Would I take him over Jackson Dart? Probably not. Would I take him over Brady Cook? Now we're talking. Would I take him over Graham Mertz? Yeah, probably. But I'm not 100% sure I'd take him over Connor Wigman. Like, I'm just not sure. The running ability is so tantalizing, but there are downsides to his game as a quarterback. I think if he was the quarterback at Minnesota, nobody would care. But he's the quarterback at Alabama, and he does make a lot of plays. So he's in there at number 22. Jackson Dart is second on this list among the quarterbacks that LSU plays in this top 100. He's number 41 on the list. I was a little bit anti-Jackson Dart at the beginning of last year because, if you'll remember, 2 years ago, Ole Miss started out like a house on fire, and then they came to Baton Rouge, and they got beat, and then they lost 6 of 7. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, they were good 2 years ago, and they had a good start last year, but are they really any good? Is Jackson Dart really that good? What if his name was Will Johnson and it wasn't Jackson Dart? Like, stupid things like that you say in August. But he was really good last year, and his coach is really good, and he's got 2 real good wide receivers and a real good tight end and a coach that can dial him up with anybody. And I think Jackson Dart is good, and I would take him over Jalen Milroe, but he's about 20 spots behind him on this list. Number 81, the third quarterback that LSU faces this year on this top 100 list, is Connor Wigman. And we just don't know a lot about Connor Wigman. He got hurt early last year, missed the entirety of the season after that Miami game. And he was playing pretty good behind a bad offensive line. But he did have a lot of weapons at wide receiver. Evan Stewart, Noah Thomas, Moose Muhammad. Like, they had some dudes at wide receiver. But he played pretty well. I was really impressed with Connor Wigman 2 years ago in that game in College Station when A&M beat LSU, the West Division champs, and really ended any chance that LSU had of making the playoff. That was after I, once again, like an idiot, came on Matt's show on Friday and acted like a clown and paid for it the next day because A&M dominated LSU after I'd made a mockery of their entire athletic program. I'll take the blame for that one, but I still think Connor Wigman played pretty good in that game, and that was as a true freshman. He's got good size. He's got a good arm. He's got the ability to run a little bit. And if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be pretty good. I agree with him being on this list. There's one more quarterback on this list that LSU faces. It's not Graham Mertz over at Florida. Don't look over at Fayetteville. They don't have anything going. It's not South Carolina. Certainly not Vanderbilt. Miller Moss at USC is on this list at number 91. You're talking about a guy who's really only played one game. He's gotten some mop-up duty here and there, but really only played in one game. But he showed out in that game against Louisville. We'll talk a ton about that over the next 2 weeks. But the talent's there. He was a highly thought-of recruit, and it's just one of those deals. You're going to get the benefit of the doubt when you start taking snaps from Lincoln Riley's offense. You got too much information on Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Caleb Williams. That's pretty strong track record. And now Miller Moss is next, and I think he is a really talented player. Is he going to throw for 6 touchdowns in every game like he did in a meaningless bowl game against Louisville? No. But he is talented, and I think that's an interesting piece there. So 4 quarterbacks on this ESPN Top 100 that LSU will see this year. Jalen Milroe at 22, Jackson Dart 41, Connor Wigman at 81, and Miller Moss at 91. How many does USC have on the list outside of Miller Moss, who I just told you about? 2. The other is a wide receiver, Zachariah Branch. They do not have anybody listed on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive line in this list. Kind of figured Bear Alexander might be on the list. Big-time recruit, huge transfer portal buzz last year, and chooses USC, going to help transform that defense. Didn't really happen. They don't have anybody on the defensive side in the top 100. Don't have anybody at the offensive line in the top 100. Just Zachariah Branch at wide receiver and Miller Moss at 91. Ohio State's running backs are back-to-back on this list, which I found kind of fascinating. Probably just a little hook they threw in. Could have separated them by 5 and wouldn't really matter. But having 2 players that play the same position at the same school back-to-back is interesting. Quinshon Judkins, if y'all weren't aware, left Ole Miss. He's now at Ohio State. He's number 34 on the list. And then Travion Henderson, who's been their starting running back the last year, he's number 35. So right there at 34 and 35, Ohio State's 2 running backs. And then Texas A&M, who is on LSU's schedule, probably their biggest pickup in the offseason was Nick Scorton, defensive end. He was the Big Ten sack leader at Purdue, but he's from College Station. And he transferred home. And he comes in at number 29 on this list. That's a big deal. Mike Elko's had a great track record with defensive linemen as far as recruiting them and developing them. They had really good defensive lines when he was at Texas A&M and had those really good defenses. They had some issues at corner, but they were always good up front. And Nick Scorton kind of figures to be a thorn in the SEC side this year as an edge rusher. And speaking of edge rushers in the Southeastern Conference, this name should sound familiar. Comes in at number 76 on this list. Former Tiger Landon Jackson, who is now at Arkansas. That's a guy I'd still like to have on the roster, quite frankly. LSU does have guys at defensive end, and we talked about him yesterday, and I think there is some upside as a pass rusher, but none of them has been as productive to this point as Landon Jackson has been in Fayetteville since leaving Baton Rouge. He was a big-time 4-star recruit, came in, didn't really see a lot of time, transferred back up to Fayetteville, and he's had a nice couple years there as a Hog, and he's now in the top 100 on this list. So LSU comes in with 3, Will Campbell at 6, Harold Perkins at 14, Emory Jones at 47. LSU will see 4 quarterbacks on this list, Milroe, Dart, Wigman, and Miller Moss. And then 2 guys from USC on the ESPN Top 100 if you want to check it out. The name of the article is College Football Rank 2024, the top 100 players before the season. Speaking of that, I just gave you what ESPN thinks are the top 3 players on LSU's team. I'm going to tell you in the next segment who I think the most indispensable player is on LSU's team. Maybe it's from that list. Maybe it's somebody else. You can give that some thought. We'll come back and do it next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet. Every shot, every goal. ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments of the summer. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place where you can find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net. Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. 5-star LSU running back commit Harlem Berry stops by, and we'll get a Saints camp report. Join us Thursday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tune in Friday night for part 2 of the SEC Radio Network's Battle for Atlanta. It's a full preview of all 16 SEC football teams as they prepare for the 2024 season. Friday night at 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Bringing our Thursday shows each and every week. Little teaser here. LouisianaSports.net has not launched yet. We are not live. We're getting there. We're making some progress, and we'll let y'all know when that does happen. But one of the things that I'm going to do as part of the content creation on the LSU side is to kind of poll the radio station. I've called it Station Survey and sent out some questions to the production staff and the on-air talent, and just want to get some quick hitter thoughts on some questions about LSU football and LSU athletics. Really, we'll do it into basketball season and into baseball as well. And one of the questions that I thought of to ask, and we'll get everybody's thoughts on, and we'll post it on the site when we're live here at some point, talked about the most indispensable player on the team. And for the purposes of the discussion, I took Garrett Nussmeier off the table. If LSU loses Garrett Nussmeier, I believe there's a significant drop-off to the backup, whether it's Ricky Collins or A.J. Swan, and LSU's going to be in a little bit of trouble offensively if Nussmeier goes down. That doesn't make LSU unique, hardly. LSU did have a pretty good backup situation last year with Garrett Nussmeier, and we'll certainly all point to Matt Flynn being a capable backup and winning a bowl game, and we'll point to Tua and Jalen Hurts. And there are certainly instances where college football teams have quality backup quarterbacks, but in this era, they are few and far between because backup quarterbacks don't stick around very long. A lot of times they're freshmen or guys that don't think they could play potentially elsewhere. If you've got a guy that's a backup, thinks he can play, he just goes and plays somewhere else, usually. So LSU actually has the inverse of that happening where a starter came from somewhere else and is here, but I don't know that anybody's got A.J. Swan on the Maxwell Award watch list just this very second. So Garrett Nussmeier is the obvious answer to the question of who's the most indispensable player on the roster. So we took him away. Who's next? Well, I'll discuss the options, and I'll tell you who I think it is. Certainly, you would just go to, well, who's the best? Well, Will Campbell might be the best player on the team. Losing him at left tackle would be very bad. Emory Jones is a really good player. Losing him at right tackle would be bad. Harold Perkins is a dynamic athlete on the defensive side. They don't really have anybody else that plays like him. Few teams in college football do have guys that play like him. Losing him would be a bad situation, for sure. LSU is shallow at the running back position. You've really got 4 guys, and one's a true freshman, one's coming off ACL surgery. So it's not a room that you've got a ton of depth in. Kyron Lacey looks to be a pretty clear number 1. Losing him would be bad. You're not real deep at tight end. I could make an argument that Mason Taylor is the most indispensable player on this team because Kamorian Pimpton's not quite physically ready to block down in, down out, nor is Trey'Dez Green, and only having 2 scholarship tight ends available is not a great place to be. All those make a lot of sense. And I would suggest there's probably a big number of you that would take one of those. So I'll go through those and tell you why I don't believe they are the answers. If Will Campbell were to go down, you would move Emory Jones to left tackle. And that's a step down, but I think he's a capable college left tackle. If not, he's not Will Campbell, but he's capable. And then you would slide in at right tackle, Tyree Adams, who's been working as the backup left tackle. He's a redshirt freshman. He's had a good camp, and that would hurt. That would be a big step down. But I don't think would be the biggest issue, biggest question mark. At running back, yeah, it would be bad if Josh Williams or Caleb Jackson went down, but you do have 3 other guys that can do it. I don't feel great about Kamorian Pimpton stepping up there and being the every down tight end over Mason Taylor, but I think you'd live. You plug Whit Weeks in for Harold Perkins. It's not the same player, but I think Whit Weeks is an SEC caliber player. My answer for LSU's most indispensable player is a guy who hasn't even really been a starter, and he's in his 5th year. It's Jacobian Guillory. This is twofold. One, I think Jacobian Guillory has had a really good camp. In the pass rush drills, he has been a bully up there. Bull rushing guys into the backfield time in and time out, getting the better of DJ Chester, getting the better of Garrett Dellinger. Certainly when they put younger players out there that are 3-4 years his junior, he's had his way with them to an extent. He's not shown a wide variety of pass rush moves, not doing a lot of swims or spin moves, or not doing any stunts in these drills, but he can just line up and hit you. He is a strong dude at 6'2", 320 pounds. And no, he has not been a very impactful player during his time at LSU. You're talking about a guy who has made 3 starts in 4 years. He started 1 game last year. You're talking about a guy who has half of a sack and 2 tackles for loss to his name in 4 years. That is not a big impact at the defensive tackle spot. You had Mason Smith, you had Mekhi Wingo, you had Jordan Jefferson. Guillory was kind of on the back burner. And generally speaking, when you're on the back burner for 4 years in college, you're not a great player. That just you would be hard pressed to find a list of great players who had almost 0 impact through 4 years of college, and then all of a sudden broke out in a 5th year. And I'm not here telling you that Jacobian Guillory is going to go out there and have 6 sacks this year and 13 tackles for loss. That would surprise me a little bit. What I do feel like I can say is that Jacobian Guillory is the best defensive tackle LSU has. I don't know who's second, but the thought of an LSU defensive tackle tandem of Jalen Lee and Gio Paez with the depth behind them of Dom McKinley and Sean Washington is a little scary to me. And you can't ask Jacobian Guillory to go out there and play 90 snaps against Ole Miss in the heat. You can't ask him to bash heads with Alabama for 75, 80 snaps. You need depth. You've got to roll some guys in there. So at times, you will have them out there. But Jacobian Guillory, to me, is clearly the best. And to be quite frank, I have more faith right now in Caleb Jackson or Kamorian Pimpton or Whit Weeks or even in Tyree Adams than I do the backup defensive tackles. JVR Suggs and Dom McKinley, like I said, and like Sean Washington. They need Guillory out there. They just do. He's not going to win the Outland Trophy. He's probably not going to be first team All SEC, but he's the linchpin of this thing. So I just don't want to think about trying to figure it out beyond Jacobian Guillory. I've been encouraged by his camp. I really have. Unfortunately, he went out earlier this week, and it doesn't appear that it's that significant. And Brian Kelly kind of spoke to it and said, yeah, we think that he'll be back. Got that big knee brace on, and I think he'll be okay. You might disagree, but that's where I am on Jacobian Guillory. Beck, you've heard the entire rationale on basically every position that's possible. Am I nuts?
No, I don't think you're nuts. I just think at times when we have conversations like this, we can go so far into the weeds and try. But I really do. I almost agree with you just because when you say an indispensable player, your first thought will go to immediately who's the best player. But at the same time, if you look at LSU, their weakest position is probably defensive line. And you can say, okay, well, let's take away the quote-unquote best player from that position, and then you're really looking thin there. So I don't think that's a bad take. I do, however, have to say that I would go with Harold Perkins just because he is. I mean, it may seem like, oh, that's an easy answer. Well, it's an easy answer because he's really, really good.
They don't have another guy with his skill set.
No, they don't. He's the best player on the defensive side of the ball, and you're going to need him really bad on third down to try to cover up some of those mistakes that the defensive backfield may have. So if he can give you 9 or 10 sacks, and I don't think Whit Weeks is going to give you more than 3 or 4 if he's taken over Harold Perkins' position. So if he can give you a lot of sacks and cover up some of those deficiencies at defensive backfield I think Harold Perkins for me is the one that I would go with.
I'll tell you the name that we didn't mention that I wouldn't love it if he went down on the first drive against USC is Ashton Stamps. Now, I realize that I talked earlier this week about how the corners are not covering anybody, but he's the best they got. And if you're telling me a little bit of a gimpy Zy Alexander and then Sage Ryan and PJ Woodland and Jair Brown are your corners, like that's a little concerning to me. So there's no right answer here. There's no wrong answer here. I think it's a good discussion piece, which is why I'm curious to see the responses I get back from everybody at the station. But I'm going to go with Jacobian Guillory on it and hope that he can absolutely stay healthy because the Tigers are going to need his services in the middle of that defensive line. That the depth is okay there. I don't know if the depth of talent is okay there. That's something we won't figure out until they get out there on the field in Las Vegas against USC. All right, we're chugging right along here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're presented by Rouse. There's a lot to get to in hour number 2. We've got to Meet the Freshman. We've got one more installment of Meet the Freshman. Michael Capple is going to join us in about 15 minutes to talk LSU. He's been out there for just about every practice, lugging a camera around. Been there for player interviews as well, so we'll talk to Capple at 2 o'clock. Luke Johnson, I just texted back and forth with him. The Saints are meeting with the media right now, and they'll be done by 2:30. So in 45 minutes, we'll go out to Irvine and get our Saints report. Looking forward to that as well. So hope your Thursday's going well. We're working towards the weekend. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy, evolvept.com is the website. Look, if you've had a physical therapy experience where they handed you 45 minutes worth of exercises that you could find on Google and told you they'll see you in a week and see how things go, that's not rehabilitation. If you need rehabilitation, you need to go to Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports because they're going to be right by your side for the entirety of the appointment, for the entirety of the session. And they're going to make sure as quickly as possible you're getting back to being as active as you can possibly be. It doesn't matter your age. If you're a youth athlete, high school athlete, collegiate athlete, or you're in your 60s or 70s trying to get back on the tennis or golf court. If you've been injured or have pain and have not been able to get rid of it and get back to being your active self, Robbie Bolton and his team at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports are exactly where you need to be. They're on Starring near Highland Road, right by Sammy's Grill. When you walk in there, they're going to be with you every step of the way, getting you back to being your active self. EvolvePT.com is the website. It's Robbie Bolton and his team at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. EvolvePT.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
On Friday's OTB, a final tune-up as we tell you what to watch for Saints, Niners, preseason game 2. Plus, LSU heading into another scrimmage weekend. What are you most hoping to hear come Monday? Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
I'm chuckling here a little bit, Beck. Look, It's optimism season. It's time to get practice reports. This guy looks great. This guy looks great. This guy looks great. You hear the press conferences. This guy's coming along nicely. He's in great shape. There's very little pessimism to be had this time of year. I've mentioned this a few times. I promise I'm not doing any things for clicks. I just told you what I think. I didn't love LSU's DBs for the first 2 weeks of camp, and I talked about it on Monday. And that's just part of the deal, and that was a negative segment. I'm hoping that things improve, and that's great. But most of the content you're ingesting here for the month of August is very, very positive. So I'm chuckling at the fact that John Neighbors, who hosts a podcast, InsideArkansas.com is where he writes. He's locked on Arkansas. He's joined Matt a couple times on their show to talk Razorbacks no matter the sport time of year. And his video that is live streaming right now is titled, Arkansas Had an Awful Scrimmage. And they're chatting it up to 2,000 people in Arkansas land right now. Like, Beck, what could have happened in a scrimmage? I haven't listened to any of this. So there's two ways this could have gone. One, Arkansas had a closed scrimmage and Sam Pittman came out and said, we were terrible today, we've got to clean it up. Or two, the media was allowed to watch the scrimmage and something was so alarmingly bad that they said Arkansas had an awful scrimmage. Like, that would have to be really bad in a controlled environment where you can't sack the quarterback. What could have possibly happened in this scrimmage?
Yeah, that's pretty hard to fathom. I do wonder a little bit though if maybe they're being just a little bit, try to make a little bit more of a headline of it by saying they had an awful scrimmage. But if they did really not look good in practice, it's hard for teams not to look good in practice. So that is tough to believe. But man,
I'm trying to come up with a scenario here. So like if you fumbled 4 shotgun snaps, like that's really bad. Like that's not the defense making a play. That's just you can't operate. If your receivers had 5 drops, like. Because any play is going to have a positive outcome for one side of the ball. Like if you get 5 sacks of the quarterback, like maybe you've got Landon Jackson, he's just a terror off the edge, and you can spin that as being positive. But and it's not like Arkansas scrimmage report, and they're like, there was some of this. The title of the video is Arkansas had an awful scrimmage. I need to go back and listen to this. I do sometimes, and I've got 2 car trips coming up this weekend. I may have to go back and listen to some of this. Things are not good on the Hill. It's a little bit not coincidence, but it is. It's just the reality. Kentucky fans, right about November 10th, right after that 3rd Kentucky loss, Florida beats you by 40 or whatever. You get just crushed by Georgia. They're like, all right, what's the basketball team doing? That's going to happen in Fayetteville real quick this year because they're buzzing. They got the 5 starters with the Calipari's landed. They think they're back in basketball. They think they're a Final Four threat. Little do they know or realize that Calipari's had all those dudes at Kentucky the last 5 years, and they're never any good.
Yep.
But they're going to move on to basketball real quick in Fayetteville.
Yeah, I was contemplating making a trip up to Fayetteville for the LSU game, and if I do end up doing that, maybe there probably won't be too many butts in the seats during that game.
No, there will not. It's a proud fan base. They love the Hogs. They wish they were better. But the fact of the matter is that they are set up right now to spend more money and have more success in basketball and certainly baseball. And that's just going to send football by the wayside. It's in one of those rare instances where you're a placeholder. And Kentucky football is that. And LSU basketball has been that at times. Trying to get to baseball. Football's done trying to get to, and you're fired up for, I don't know who they open with, somebody that they'll beat. I think they go to Oklahoma State maybe week 2, and they should get smoked in that game. But they should open with a win, and then that'll be kind of the high point. And at some point, it'll become coaching search season up there because Pittman's just got no chance. Sometimes you've got a guy that may be on the hot seat, but there's players, and sometimes you've got a coach that's on the hot seat, and there's just no hope. They brought in a quarterback who wasn't even very good at Boise State. I don't think Petrino's going to be able to help very much. Their offensive line was just putrid last year. And reportedly, they just really didn't play very well the scrimmage today. I'm going to have to spend some time on the Arkansas board today and try to see what exactly did happen. You want to briefly give a little thought on the U.S. national team hiring a coach?
Yeah, sure.
We got a minute and a half.
Absolutely. I was going to put this in take it or leave it. We can still talk about that a little bit more later, but the U.S. men's national team managed to hire a manager that I don't think many thought would be possible the last few years. And his name is Mauricio Pochettino. He is Argentinian. His name sounds Italian because his family heritage is Italian. But he is managed in the Premier League for many years. He was at Tottenham for about 4 or 5 years, had them finishing in the top 4 pretty much every year, and they were really good.
Gordy Rush loves Tottenham.
Yeah, so Gordy Rush definitely familiar with this guy. He managed the team for quite a while, and then he moved on, went to PSG, which is a French team, and did well there, but they always do well because they dominate that league. It's kind of like just how it goes in the French league. But they did win the league that year, and then he went to Chelsea. He was there for a few years, and actually he was just there for 1 year, and they were doing okay, but he had some qualms with upper management. Whenever you disagree with upper management, they tend to fire you.
Yes, that happens.
Which is what happened. So then he was available, and the U.S. talked about he was a candidate, and many people didn't think they'd get the money, but they got it. So really good hire for the U.S., and it looks up for the World Cup in 2026.
It is an attractive job. I don't know anything about soccer. You're well aware of that. But the fact of the matter is that you're at a place that has not achieved.
Yep.
And you've got this runway to go towards the biggest moment in the history. Now, you can fall flat on your face, but it's not like you've got all these massive expectations and you've got to do well. It's a deal where you've got a great opportunity. I don't know what the money means, and I don't know if he likes living in the U.S. of A., but come on down, sir. Coach some football, match on the pitch, get in the kits, put the boots on, all that.
Yep, that's it. You got it.
That's it for hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Rouse's. Trying to do some grocery shopping for this weekend, getting ready to watch the Saints preseason game. Get on by any Rouse's location near you. Got a lot to get to in hour number 2. We're going to step aside for SportsCenter. Michael Capple, WBRZ Sports Director, is free. Been out of practice. Heard some play interviews. We'll talk to him coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports Bills linebacker Matt Milano will be out indefinitely with a torn biceps. He got hurt during Tuesday's practice. The hope is Milano might be able to play by December. Week 2 of the NFL preseason kicks off tonight with the Patriots hosting the Eagles. Saturday, the Super Bowl champ Chiefs host the Lions. Chiefs wideout Marquise Brown out of action right now with a dislocated shoulder. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes.
Obviously, we lose a little bit of that veteran-type receiver in that room. I mean, we have other guys that can kind of replace a little bit, but to have that much talent, have a good understanding of what I want. But he's in the room. I think that's what's awesome. He's talking to those guys and everything like that. And so hopefully we're getting them back sooner rather than later. But we just got to keep pushing those young guys to keep getting better and better every day.
Patrick Mahomes. Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence won't play in Saturday's preseason game against the Buccaneers. Ohio State coach Ryan Day announces today Kansas State transfer Will Howard will open the new season as the starting quarterback. Howard started 28 games for the Wildcats.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Friday, Jordan Love got his money. I'll tell you what he needs to do if he wants to be viewed as the best quarterback in the conference. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, working towards the weekend. I only got 1 hour left to go here on the air. I'm out of here tomorrow. Taylor Sharp will be in for me.
Me as well.
Yeah, sweet. You're going to Chi-Town.
I have to catch a flight at 5:25 in the morning.
I love those. Get me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm good to go.
That's the thing is, like, I'm not mad about it because we're going to get there at like 7:30.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I can go take a nap at the hotel for like an hour or two, and then we got the whole day. So
if you've got check-in ability at
that's the problem.
8:30 and 9 o'clock.
That's the problem.
I wouldn't want to take a nap. I just want to go see Chicago. Get me something to eat.
I'm going to be tired. I mean, there's just no way around it. Like, I'm not going to sleep at 7 p.m. tonight.
Tired's overrated. You just make it happen. You just
I
get
don't-
up and you go.
Well, I don't drink coffee, and I guess you don't either. I don't know how. What do you do? You just
Tired
get
is for
over
the
it.
weak.
Okay.
I feel like Denzel and Remember the Titans.
Right.
Water makes you weak.
All
Water
right.
to wash blood off my uniform, and you don't get blood on my uniform. All right, Michael Cobble's going to join us. He's sports director of WBRZ Channel 2. Big Remember the Titans fan, Michael?
I'm thinking about where they're all clapping together, like in unison and doing the thing, and the one kid looks so out of sync and like not
Ryan
not
Gosling.
not rhythmic. Yes, I was thinking of the big kid actually, but yeah,
Billy
Ryan
Bob?
Gosling.
Oh, no, that's Varsity Blues. His name is Louis Lastic in Remember the Titans. Yeah.
God, how do you remember this?
We watched Remember the Titans like 2 weeks ago. It was we were looking for a movie to watch. We wanted something mindless that we've seen 100 times, and that's what we settled on. So
You and the wife just threw in a little Remember the Titans?
It was we had Myers was gone for an entire week. The 2-year-old was gone at my parents' house for an entire week. It was bliss. So that was yeah. We were watching a little Remember the Titans and not cleaning up stuff off the ground and whatever the case may be with the 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Let's talk some football. Is the defense getting better?
Like I literally had to say it on air the other day, because I felt like I was sunshine pumping so much, but I feel like they are. Like when you see them make plays that they were not making last year. Now look, better is relative, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like they are. I feel like they are improving. They are improved from where they were a year ago. Now, is it sustainable? Is it consistent, like Brian Kelly likes to say? I don't know. And is it an issue maybe with the offense that, maybe they're not as good as we thought they might be? So I think there's a little bit of that as well. But, yeah, I think they're making plays. And they're making plays at different times. Like, I know I've listened to you enough. You talk about individual versus team, but I'm seeing it more and more in the individual as well as the team. So, yeah, I do feel like they're making strides.
They had a really good period on Tuesday in individuals where they made some plays on the football, which was severely lacking for the first week. I mean, it's dealer's choice here, whatever you want to take. But is there a level on the defense that you think is creating more of that havoc, that's making more plays? They didn't do anything last year, so is there any specific place that you would look and say that's where they're making some strides?
No, I think they're better across the board.
Okay.
I mean, and I think it's because of what they're telling us too. I just wonder how much of this is confidence and belief, and then it is allowing them to play freer and faster. I mean, ultimately they are faster and they are quicker than they've been, and so is that just a simplification of what they're being asked to do? A better comprehension of what they're being asked to do on their part, or is it confidence? And the truth is, it's probably all of them to some degree, right? They're talking about their coaches making it streamlined for them to really get out there and play, and that's what you want with any athlete, any sport, anywhere. And we talk about it all the time with offense, and Brian Kelly talked about it ad nauseum last year, leading into the start of the season. They want to give the ball to their playmakers in space. Well, it's the same thing on defense. You have playmakers, you want to get them out in space and allow them to make the defensive play. And so, I think that's what we're just seeing. We're seeing Harold, we're seeing some of the linebackers, be able to create some havoc in space. We're seeing the defensive line, make stops, be able to shed blocks, get to the ball carrier. We're seeing the secondary stay in phase. I think to me, that's the biggest thing that I've noticed is just they're there. They may not always make a play on the ball, but they are seldomly left in the dust. Now, it still happens, and you'll still see a guy trail 2 or 3 yards behind a receiver at times. And sometimes you just have to, accept that that's kind of what the position is, and it's going to happen in games as well. But I think you're seeing them stay in phase longer, better, and then therefore they're able to make plays on the ball or disrupt the catch.
To me, and this applies to any sport, the fastest way to get better is not for older players to become something they haven't been. It's for younger players to grow up and become stars and fulfill their potential. But there are a lot of guys that are playing on this defense that have played a lot for LSU. Sage Ryan, Major Burns, Jacobian Guillory, Savion Jones, Greg Penn, Harold Perkins. Is it reasonable to expect all of those guys to truly elevate their games when we've seen them for 3 years in some cases?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, because again, at some point it's the light switch thing. You mentioned Sage right out of the gate. They're asking him to do something different. Now, I don't know that I don't have a ton of. I'll be honest. I don't have a ton of confidence in him in games. I'm going to have to see it to believe it, kind of thing with him on the outside corner. But I do think that there is a reasonable expectation that everyone can improve from year to year, and it doesn't have anything to do with age. I think, to your point, I think the ceiling is greater, right? Because there's this unknown with younger players, whereas for the most part, we understand what veteran players are capable of and what they can do. But I think what helps the veteran player is that dude next to him, their ability to play off one another, to pass off coverage, to pass off responsibility, to understand when, they need to help. And I think that's where you get, the improved play from older players. It's more technique. I mean, you hear that with guys in the NFL and why they're able to stay in the league for as long as they are. It's because they understand when to push it and when not to push it, right? And I think that is kind of what you get out of the older players and why you can see them shine. They understand the level of requirement at the time needed, and they're able to give that and then pull back when not.
What do you think of Blake Baker? I know y'all have talked to him a couple times.
Yeah, like it. Again, it's the enthusiasm, it's the energy that he's bringing, it's the expectations. I think life is pretty simple when you set a standard and then that standard is consistently upheld. That's really the only thing that is preventing people from reaching their potential. That's true with raising kids. That's true with working with coworkers. It's true in athletics. Identify the standard, have it be a reasonable standard that everybody can agree upon, and then try to meet that standard every day. And I think they're just doing a better job of meeting that standard, whether that's from communication of what is the standard to communication of we're not meeting the standard. And that's anybody that's worked with young people these days, they understand the defeatism that is almost inherent in all of them. Like if they can't be experts at anything right out of the gate, they get super frustrated. Well, I mean, imagine applying that to football where it's a high pressure, high leverage situation. So the ability to communicate that, we didn't win this rep, but we can come back and do something, to correct that, I think is paramount. And that's probably what they were missing most was the communication skills in last year's defense, their ability to explain it, to teach it, and for the players to understand it. I think you're getting all of that this year with a change of voice.
You mentioned right out of the gate, and that's an interesting thing because right out of the gate, they're facing a head coach who's coached 3 Heisman winners in the last decade. So that's not exactly an easing in type situation. Does that change our conversation about this whole defense because of who they've got to start with right out of the gate?
I think it does. I mean, here's the reality, right? We all have pretty low expectations for this defense, and I think right out of the gate they're going to be challenged and probably not look that improved. They're going to have to do some significant quarterback affecting, I think, in order to change the style and play that USC wants to bring to the field. Now, look, they lost their quarterback, their Heisman-winning quarterback too, so there's the potential for LSU to have some success there. But I do think you have to go in with maybe measured expectations of what is a win in week one outside of the scoreboard, right? They got to win. Let's just, be as upfront about that as possible. You can't go 5 years in a row losing the season opener. They got to win. How much can, Brian talked about being a more balanced team, help them in that regard? It gets back to the first thing that we talked about. This defense is better. How many times last year did we just say, give me a competent defense? Give me
Make 2 plays. Make 2 plays.
Defense. Yeah, make 2 plays in a game, right, and change the course of the game. That's where they have to be. And from what I've seen so far in practice, I believe they can do that. I'm not asking them to be a good defense. I'm asking them to be an average defense. And I think that is attainable. It'll be a challenge, right? But guess what? USC's in the same boat with the same terrible defense that has to figure out, an LSU offense. I'm wondering, Hunt, are we not talking enough about this offense? We are taking a very big leap of faith that this offense will be efficient. And we're hanging it on things that aren't necessarily proven outside of an offensive line that we know is veteran, but we're giving them a ton of credit too. This run game wasn't exceptional last year.
Nope.
It's basically a whole new batch of receivers, a new quarterback that we saw can operate the offense, in a bowl game against a depleted Wisconsin team. There's a lot, I think, that still has to be proven just as much on the offensive side of the ball as it really does on the defensive side of the ball.
That's completely fair, and I've kind of hinted at that a little bit. I wrote a story this morning talking about the running game, and they were atrocious on the ground against Florida State, Alabama, and Texas A&M last year. Awful. If they run it like that against good defensive fronts, those are the best 3 fronts they saw. They're going to be in some trouble, so they've got to find a way to improve that. But I do think there's going to be some more creativity in the run game this year. We'll talk.
We were seeing that, right, with the outside zones. The thing that here's what gives me hope: the involvement that I've seen of Chris Hilton involved in the screen game early on is something that I really enjoy seeing. I feel like that's the way that you can move the ball with relative ease and spread the defense out and take advantage of your playmakers in space, because you can run that out of any look, and that's the one thing I was asking Brian when we talked to him last was do you feel like you're going to be predictable by formation with your running game? Josh Williams can do a little bit of everything, but if Caleb Jackson is in the game, we know what he's doing. There's just not that much creativity to it. So getting him out in space, getting him on a wheel route, I think can really soften some things up, give it a different look. But again, how much better are those guys? How much better is Caleb, quite honestly, in pass pro? Those are the steps that they still need to make. And And that's what I'm waiting to see. I loved what I've seen from John Emery, and I had a chance to talk to him in the parking lot just to tell him that, because I think they've been working the dog out of him.
Yep.
And I understand why. Like, I understand Bryant's point, but like he looks like he's ready for it. I just hope they can get him to the finish line of week 1 still healthy, because I understand they're trying to test him and make sure that he's good to go. But I mean, he looked great. Like, I want to see more of him. So yeah, I'll read that article, because I'm interested in this run game. How effective can it be? Because yeah, to me, it's going to have to shoulder a big burden with this production on offense.
2 weeks till LSU kicks off. High school football coming up pretty quick. What's coming up on Channel 2?
Yeah, we're still heavy into the college stuff, though. I mean, we're doing LSU as every chance we can get. Bree Andrews sat down with Terrence Graves, the new Southern head football coach, for a one-on-one. We're going to get that out this weekend, I think. So we're really big into the college stuff. The high school stuff will get here, and we'll have the Friday nights. But that was kind of our June, July focus of, looking at all the area teams. It's college. Let's go. Watch a little Saints preseason, see what they bring to the field. Hate to hear the injury bug is biting over practice, so we'll see how significant that is, and get you caught up on all that.
We appreciate you, Cobble. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Michael Capple, sports director over there at WBRZ Channel 2 here in Baton Rouge. Luke Johnson from Saints Camp coming up in 15 minutes. When we come back, we'll do some Meet the Freshmen. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Tub-to-shower conversions of all shapes and sizes are one of the things that One Bath and Closets does so often. If you do not use your bathtub, it's a little bit older and maybe a little dingy. It's just not something that you spend a lot of time considering because you just take showers. Well, take it out. Put a glass walk-in shower in. If you're looking for some images and some of the things that they can do in that space, go to onebathandclosets.com or check them out on Instagram and see some of the fantastic work they have done. It completely transforms the bathroom, and that can add value to your home, give you a new look and better functionality for you if you don't ever use that bathtub. It's onebathandclosets.com. You can go to the website, check out the pictures of their great work, get that free consultation. That doesn't cost you a penny. And then if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, you can get $1,000 off of your job. $1,000 off with David Duvall and the team at One Bath and Closets. They're online at onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Sandegriff join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road. Troy Macker from Bet Rivers, Bruce Marshall with us from Las Vegas, and we're getting you ready for the second weekend of preseason football. Live at Lunch from Ruffino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, so if you were listening 25 minutes ago, you heard me say that I saw a report from John Neighbors up in Arkansas that Arkansas had a, quote, terrible scrimmage. And Beck and I were like, how in the world could a scrimmage be that terrible? Like, if bad things are happening to one side of the ball, good things are happening to another side of the ball, usually that comes out in the wash. For it to be considered terrible, it's really got to be something. Well, the reports are out. I did a little reading, did a little perusing, and Mason Choate from up there in Arkansas, who I follow, that's joined us on the show a couple of times, Talk Hoops, comes out with a statistic. Arkansas threw 8 interceptions today in their scrimmage.
That's really bad.
It's not good.
Maybe Arkansas just has the best defense in the SEC, Hunt.
You know, I'm going to think probably not.
Probably not.
Arkansas doesn't play Vanderbilt this year because I might pick Vanderbilt in that game, and I don't know a single player who plays for Vanderbilt. I think Arkansas is going to be hellaciously bad. I mean, just atrocious. The question is, how long do they keep Sam Pittman on the string? They purely kept him last year based solely on finances, didn't want to pay the buyout and jump into the coaching market. So they ate one more year, and it's going to be a real, real bad year up there on the hill in Fayetteville. So tough stuff. 8 interceptions in a scrimmage, not what you're looking to see in the second week in August. All right, we started back. Where did we start? I've got the date right here. Back on the 30th of July, we talked about Juwan Johnson and Jelani Watkins, the first 2 freshmen on this list. And today, that's 16 days later, we complete our tour through the freshman class at LSU.
Meet the freshmen. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
We're on the defensive side of the football today as we wrap things up with our final 2. Xavier Atkins is the next to last member of this class and meet the freshman. A 6', 210-pound linebacker from Summer Creek High School in Houston, Texas, but he originally hails from Jonesboro, Louisiana, just moved there prior to his senior year in high school. So looks like he kind of stole one from the state of Texas, but he's a guy that did grow up in the state of Louisiana. 4 stars by On3, ESPN, and Rivals. Rivals had him as the number 7 linebacker in the nation. Top 200 player by Rivals. Is a guy that has good size. A guy that is 6 foot, 205 pounds at this point, and that's a good frame to fill out. You figure he'll be 225, 230 pounds by the time he's playing significant snaps for LSU. You look at this linebacker spot right now, and you see Greg Penn, who's a veteran. You see Harold Perkins, who's a veteran. You see West Weeks, who's a veteran. And then you got Witt in there, and there's going to be a group of young players that's going to have to assume some playing time next year. Devon Keys is in that number. We'll see what they decide to do with Kalaj Cobbins. I think he probably knocks down 2 defensive end, but certainly Xavier Atkins is in that number of guys who may be asked to play significant snaps next year. I don't see Xavier Atkins factoring in big time in this class, in this season, because of the veterans that I pointed out in front of him. But certainly a good get. Texas A&M very much in the mix for him. Arkansas and TCU as well. But LSU lands him, and he is a guy that is probably not a huge factor this year, but a guy they have some high hopes for moving forward. And the final member of Meet the Freshman this year is one you may have heard of, Dominic McKinley. It is. He is 6'6". He is 315 pounds. He hails from Acadiana High School right here in the state of Louisiana, was the top player in the state of Louisiana in 2024, a consensus 5-star prospect. On threes composite had him as the number 13 player in the nation, number 3 player at defensive tackle. Rivals had him as the number 12 player in the country. This is a guy that LSU worked really hard to get, and at the beginning, they didn't get him. Texas A&M and Elijah Robinson secured his commitment, but then there was the coaching turnover. Jimbo Fisher was fired. Elijah Robinson decided not to stay at Texas A&M, did decide to go up to Syracuse and coach there, and that kind of freed things up in their class. And Gabriel Elliford was one defection that LSU was able to pull in, and Dominic McKinley was the next one. This is a guy that's got incredible size. You go out to practice, and he's just a big hulking dude. Would I say he looks explosive? Not right now. I would say he looks big and strong. There's work that needs to be done. It's very difficult for these guys that are, I mean, you're talking about a guy in high school that played at 6'6", 285-ish, 290-ish, and that's just really difficult for high schoolers to deal with, as you're well aware. You've got, centers out there who are already, welding or selling insurance, and they're trying to deal with a guy who may play in the NFL one day. It's just very difficult to handle a guy with that size. So they don't have to play with great technique. You just take the snap, stand up, throw the guy out of the way, and go make a play. McKinley did perform excellently in the summer circuit and the camps, kind of dominated a lot of those no-padded drills. And there is 2 things that you want to point out with McKinley. One, he's gained a bunch of weight since his senior year, and I think that's shows a sign of commitment. He wants to gain weight. He wants to be great. And the question is, how much is he going to play? Because Jacobian Guillory and Gio Paez are the starters there, and Jalen Lee's very quickly running with the 2s now that he's returned from that Spanish class. And you feel like Sean Washington is an older player that figures to get some reps in there at defensive tackle, but McKinley's right in there. I don't know from watching the reps that he's knocking on the door of playing. There's a lot of work that's got to be done. The other piece to it is he may have to play. If there are injuries, there are, a lot of snaps. You got to cycle some guys in. You can't ask Jacobian Guillory to play 83 snaps. So he may have to play a little bit. And Bo Davis has got to coach him up. He's out there working. And I think there's a chance he's a star. But right now, he's running with the 3s and sometimes the 2s. You don't want to have to count on freshman defensive tackles to give you huge snaps. The hope is you don't have to. And then in a more wishful situation, maybe he just plays his way into it. A lot of times that doesn't happen with freshmen, but we have seen it at times. We have seen true freshmen kind of break through and force their way to the field. We'll see with Dom McKinley. The size, there's no question. Got to work on technique, got to keep getting reps, and LSU's working hard with him, and he's working hard with them to gain weight and to force his way to the field. He was a really, really big get in this past class, and let's see if Dominic McKinley can have an impact in his first year in Tigertown. That's it for Meet the Freshman. We have run through the entirety of the class. Started back in July and worked all the way through the middle of the month of August. So if you missed any of it, you can always catch it on demand. There are a lot of them that are clipped at Hunt on LSU. If you'd like to go back and just catch a couple of these talking about the freshmen, we did 2 a day. Pretty digestible, pretty easy stuff. Some of them are studying incredible stuff that we want to talk about. Some of them are 5-star recruits. Some of them are 3 stars. One's a kicker. So you never know, but we hit them all on Meet the Freshman. All right, there's been some injury news out of Saints camp in Irvine. Taliese Fuanga left practice today. That's really all the information we have. It's a back injury, nothing beyond that. We'll see what Luke Johnson knows when we go out to Irvine coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. Football season rapidly approaching. For some, it's here. If you're fired up for preseason football, like it is here. If you want to make your home the place to watch the game this fall, Audio Video Security Solutions needs to be your first call. Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number, he's the owner of the company, 225-439-7920. Call him, say, hey, we got to set up our home entertainment system. Say no more, he'll be right there. Some of the things they can do are really, really cool. From the simple stuff, like they can mount your television if that's something you want them to do. They can also do some more high-tech stuff than that. They can hook up your sound system and sync all of the televisions with one sound so that you don't have sound at different times throughout the house when there are 25 people and the kitchen's yelling right before the living room and there are some people that are outside. Sync all that sound together and have it all come out at one specific time. You can control all of that with an app right on your phone. It's so easy. Someone with no technical ability like me can handle it. Make your home the place to watch all the games this fall, and the call's got to be to Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out on Instagram, AVSS_BR. Or online, as I always tell you, Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. 5-star LSU running back commit Harlem Berry stops by, and we'll get a Saints camp report. Join us Thursday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Some troubling news from out in Irvine. Got to get an update on that as Taliesin Fuanga left practice today. Apparently a back issue, did not return, and that's not good for the Saints. They've got enough issues on their plate on the offensive line. Need to get that rectified as quickly as possible. Luke Johnson's been out in Irvine for a couple weeks now with the black and gold and joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. What can you tell us about Fuanga leaving practice? What did you see, and what was the initial report?
Yeah, he left right after the individual period, which is, for those who are not aware, that's like right at the beginning of practice. They do their stretch, and then they go through individual work, and then they kind of go into the team stuff and special teams. So he left very early in practice, and Dennis Allen said he kind of noticed him looking a little tight during the stretch. So obviously we're going to keep an eye on it. I think not only has he looked good, he's been one of their better offensive linemen, and they've obviously had a little bit of trouble on the other spots. So like losing a left tackle, a rookie left tackle who's been playing very well, would be really bad for this team. So I can't say anything about the severity of it. He might be back out there at practice tomorrow for all I know. But it is definitely something that we got to keep a very close eye on because it's really important to what they do.
What's plan B at left tackle?
It's a good question, man. I think today they had Landon Young taking most of the first team reps out there. He's a big drop down. I like Landon Young. He's a good swing tackle for him, but that's like such an important position. And when you're already kind of dealing with some weak spots at other places, you can deal with one weak spot, and 2 weak spots makes it really tough. But if you got three, it's going to be hard to function as an offense. So that's plan B right now. We'll see where this ends up going.
What about Oli Udoh? Where has he been most of the time, and what can you tell us about him?
He's been kind of all over the place. He's done some right guard, he's done some left guard, he's done some right tackle, done some left tackle. I think he is still working his way back from that injury that basically cost him all of last year. I think he only played in 2 games last year and didn't really participate much in the summer program, and they kind of brought him along slowly once they got to training camp. He's still got like a ways to go, I think. He's been a good player in the league before, and he's somebody that obviously gives them versatility. I just talked about him being at 4 different positions in camp, but like I just feel like there's still some stuff he needs to catch up on. So like I think if they had to play Sunday without Fuanga, or if they had to play a regular season game without Fuanga, I think I'd be going toward Landon Young before Oli Udoh.
Is this a crisis right now? I don't know another way to ask that question.
If Fuaga's needs to miss significant time with this, it definitely is. It's just Penning has been not good over right tackle, and I think his struggles over there have kind of drawn attention away from left guard, which I think has been just kind of average throughout camp. And if you start talking about taking another starter away from there, that's like I really don't know how they would function offensively. They can only scheme up so much if their line is not clearing holes for the running game and protecting the quarterback. So we'll wait and see what happens with Fuanga. But if he's out there, I think they can be functional and they can be okay. And if he's not, or McCoy or Cesar Ruiz, I think they're in trouble.
Do you think Trevor Penning's going to be the starter at right tackle in Week 6?
Oh, if you said Week 1, yeah. Week 6, I've honestly no idea. I think they're trying to be as patient as they possibly can be with him. And they're saying all the right things about him. They're saying good things about him, but they've already come out and said that they're trying to keep his confidence up. And are public comments part of that? It's kind of hard to read between the lines sometimes. So you see him out there, and he does do some good stuff. Right? It's just unfortunately for an offensive lineman, your 2, 3, 4 bad plays are really magnified. They'll blow up plays. there'll be negative plays for the offense, and when you're the tackle out in space, it is pretty easy to say it's on you. So yeah, I have no idea. I think he's definitely gonna be the starter in week 1. But beyond that, I have no idea. They might be forced to try to sign somebody and fill him in. I mean, Cam Irving was a guy who was on the street last year, who ended up starting football games for him because they couldn't trust Trevor Penning to play right tackle or left tackle for him. It could really go anywhere. If the light bulb finally clicks, then sure, he'll be their starting right tackle. But it's just hard to say that's going to happen right now.
Chatting with Luke Johnson, covers the Saints for The Advocate, by Luke Johnson on Twitter, with us every single Thursday. Look, the first team offense looked pretty clunky against Arizona, but as we talked to a couple people that have been out there like you have, they didn't really show anything. So any concern with that, or do you think there's going to be any more of what y'all have seen in practice in the game on Sunday, or are we just going to have to wait for week 1 for that?
I think we're going to have to wait to week 1 to really see what this offense can do. There are some things that look different from what they've done in the past, right? I think weirdly enough, they threw a lot more of that stuff out there with the second and third team offense than they did with the first team. But I'm not ready to say I'm sounding the alarm bells after 2 preseason drives. It's like they went out there 1 preseason drive last year with the starting offense, and they looked like world beaters, and then they didn't play again, and then they didn't play well for 12 weeks. So I try to take everything that we see with a grain of salt in the preseason, and just kind of trust what we're seeing out there in practice. I think what we're seeing is an offense that can be very good and also can struggle. Yeah, they've been pretty inconsistent throughout camp. They've had some really big highs and some pretty disconcerting lows. So I think that's just going to kind of be who they are, unless the offensive line really starts gelling and playing well together, particularly in pass protection.
Is there an upper hand in the backup quarterback battle?
I really don't think there is. I mean, if I were to say it right now, I'd say probably Jake Haener. I know people are really, really into Spencer Rattler, and it was really exciting seeing what he did in the preseason game, leading the game-winning drive. But Haener is such a confident player, and he really fits well in what they're asking him to do in this offense. You can see it when he's on the field. He knows where he wants to go with the football, and he processes defense as well. And he's got a much better arm than I think people give him credit for. We saw him today, and I don't know if he had a ball that hit the ground that wasn't a drop today. He was putting it on the spot. He was throwing deep outs, and he had a play today where, they were calling this inside zone run, and it's a goal line play, and he saw the defense all crouching in, and he didn't tell anybody he was doing it, not the running back, not the offensive line, nobody. He just pulled the handoff out, and the defense all crashed in trying to tackle the running back, and he just walked it in the end zone for a score. I mean, that's a kind of heads up type of play that I think kind of gives him the edge, but Rattler's looked really good at times, really good. He's got a really big arm. I just don't think he's been quite as consistent. He could probably use some seasoning.
What do we think about Sunday's game against San Francisco? We'll see a little bit more of the starters, about the same, and obviously you don't know that, but what are you looking at?
Yeah, I think I was kind of surprised they let him go as long as they did last week. If they're kind of going off the same schedule they went on last year, we won't see him at all on Sunday. But I think that this is a different situation where you got a new play caller, and you do want to see the offense have some success. You want to see what the first team defense looks like together. You're going up against a really good San Francisco team who's dealing with injuries of its own and might not play its starters, but they're still a well-coached football team, and you kind of want the measuring stick a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him back out there again this Sunday. But then again, Dennis Allen's not going to let us know anything. So I was pretty confident that Derek Carr and the rest weren't going to play on against Arizona, and they did. So I'm not going to make any grand predictions on your show this time.
That is understood. Any news that they've given you, or any guys that you've seen on the injury front, whether it's Lattimore, Kendre Miller? I mean, there's a long list at this point. None of it seems like it's really significant into the season, but is anybody kind of pushing towards coming back?
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys we've seen miss time, maybe could be back as soon as next week. Lattimore is one I'm less confident about. He's been out at practice. He's done a little bit of work off to the side, but we've seen guys like Paulson Adebo and Kendry Miller and Pete Warner, Mason Tipton, who got off to a great start in camp and had injured his hamstring. We've seen all these guys just while the team is doing its own work, they're off working with athletic trainers. They're going through drills, and usually that's a pretty good sign that a player is getting close to being back to the field. So getting healthier, but they're still pretty banged up right now. I mean, our list is like 15, 17 players long.
None of it seems too serious, but it's just a lot. So we'll see how that goes. We'll enjoy the football on Sunday, and we'll talk to you next week from back in Louisiana.
Yeah. My wife and child are very happy about that.
I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, me too.
We'll talk then, Luke. Thanks.
Later, buddy.
Luke Johnson, Saints beat reporter for The Advocate, with us every single Thursday. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. We'll come back and close up shop with some Take It or Leave It. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Newest partner here of the Hunt Palmer Show is Highland Insurance Group. Insurance is never a fun thing to talk about. I know. I was in the insurance world, but it's important, especially if you're running a business, and you'd really rather run your business than worry about all your policies, and they can be complicated. You need to trust your insurance broker. And if right now you don't know if you do, you just know that you've got insurance that's kind of expensive because somebody cold called and told you they could get you a deal, and maybe look into forming a better partnership with your insurance broker, and that needs to start with the Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carbo and his team can handle your commercial property and casualty insurance. They can handle your group and employee benefits. If you don't know what employment practice liability is, you don't know what crime insurance or cyber insurance is, you don't know what directors and officers insurance is, you should probably know that if you're running a business. And Jonathan Carbo and his team can help you get all of that in place. You got to handle your benefits for your group, all of their insurance coverages. That's important to keeping your staff together, all the benefits that you can offer. Let the Highland Insurance Group handle all of that for you. If you're looking for a magic bullet, try to cut 20% on your insurance costs, this is not a call that you need to make. That's not going to happen. But you can trust them to be an advocate for you in the insurance marketplace and to make sure that you've got proper coverage at an affordable price. It's Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carbo and his team right here in Baton Rouge. You can check them out online at highlandig.com. That's highlandig.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
On Friday's OTB, a final tune-up as we tell you what to watch for Saints, Niners, preseason game 2. Plus, LSU heading into another scrimmage weekend. What are you most hoping to hear come Monday? Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
.104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. Upload your best tailgate photo to 104.5ESPN.com for a chance to win a $500 Alumni Hall gift card. Our judges will select the winner on August 29th. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Alumni Hall, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And Rev will deliver our coverage live from Las Vegas starting Friday, August 30th with Off the Bench and After further review, and continuing Sunday, September 1st with Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Our coverage is also presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Watch us live on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Kick off the 2024 season with live from Las Vegas with Rev and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, as I mentioned, I'll be out tomorrow. Wife and I are going to get a little time away before football season really cranks up. Taylor Sharp will be in tomorrow. Preston Guy is going to join him. They'll talk a lot of football, a lot of Saints preseason, a lot of LSU as well. Taylor's been out to a lot of practices, so I know he gets some good airtime on the morning show, but I'll have an opportunity to have the big mic for tomorrow's show, so looking forward to that, and he'll do a great job. I'll be back in action coming up on Monday, and that's next week's going to be the toughest week because you don't have a weekend of football to look forward to unless you're a freak and want to do week zeros. I use freak in an endearing term there, football freak, unless you really want it. But then we're really close. We're getting there. We're 2 weeks out from kickoff, so that's a very, very good thing. All right, Beck, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. According to ESPN's Jesse Rogers, the MLB are considering a few different rule changes, namely the biggest one and most shocking one would be requiring starting pitchers to pitch at least 6 innings, barring a few stipulations, of course, and after you hear these, it will make it sound a little bit more palatable. One is throwing 100 pitches. One is giving up 4 or more earned runs, and then, of course, an injury. So barring those things, the pitcher will have to go at least 6 innings. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. That's stupid. There's 27 outs. You can throw 27 pitches if you want. I realize they're trying to move things along, but this is the point. Who are we catering to here?
This is supposed
We're trying to make the game move more quickly to stop from pitching changes?
Well, no, I think it's also for more offense.
Sorry, that's not the point.
I know.
I just don't. You can call me a baseball purist if you want, but when I talk about putting patches on uniforms, I might be a fuddy-duddy idiot. But the game is you put a hitter out there, you put a pitcher out there. You're not going to stop how many pinch hitters you can use.
Yeah.
Why don't we just use 9 designated hitters and 9 designated fielders? That'll give you more offense. You don't need anybody that can field. You just put them out in the field, and you have guys that can hit. We're trying too hard to appease viewership, and I understand that it's I understand that viewership and ratings are what drive the money and drive the game, but these changes are just stupid. You either love baseball or you don't. You're going to watch baseball or you don't, and that just sounds ridiculous.
It does, and I think if anything, it just makes it seem like the MLB are really grasping at straws here and trying to figure out more ways to get a wider audience. And I'm not sure what that indicates, but it is interesting to consider the fact that they would even talk about putting a rule in place that is that drastic. It's pretty crazy that they would consider it. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's interesting, but it's stupid.
It is. All right, moving on here. Floribama, take it or leave it.
Gonna take it. I love the Floribama. I don't think we'll be making an appearance at the Floribama this weekend. I don't know if that's in the cards for us. We're going to a concert on Saturday, and I don't think we're gonna do that Friday night. That sounds like we just had a 3.5-hour car ride. We're gonna pour a couple of cocktails and hang out on the balcony as the sun kind of sets. That's what Friday night's looking like. I do love the Floribama though. My bachelor party days are about done, I guess. I've had 3 different bachelor parties at that Mediterranean right next door to the Floribama.
Wow.
There's a Mediterranean, a Waffle House, a liquor store, and the Floribama, and that's the intersection right there. And that's the only place you go for 3 days on those bachelor parties. I love the Floribama, but I don't think it's going to be in the cards. I would love a bushwhacker. I just don't think we're going to make that happen.
All right, next one here. This is the last weekend without real football. Take it or leave it.
I guess I'll take it. We just talked about that. There is real football next weekend. If you're into the week 0 thing, is it Georgia Tech, Florida State or something? Is that the game?
Yeah.
If that's on, I might pop over to it. If Ole Miss were playing Furman, I would watch that.
Yeah.
I'm so SEC centric that I would watch an SEC team. I don't really care about Florida State or Georgia Tech, so if I'm doing something else, or if Myers wants to watch Monster Trucks, I'm not going to pull that off the TV. But I'm not going to be hooked in week 0. Week 1, I'm in Thursday night, I'm in Friday, I'm in Saturday, the whole deal. And then, of course, LSU plays on Sunday. We'll see next week. Next week's going to be a long one mentally.
It is.
The content will be good because we'll have more practice reports and more roster cuts for the Saints and all that kind of stuff. We'll be able to talk through it. But mentally, I'm just not going to feel like I've reached the finish line next week.
Last one here. Fantasy football mock drafts. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. They're fun. You get them done pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather do the snake draft than the auction. Auction mock takes a long time.
It does.
You got a snake. I can handle that. That's taking things a little seriously. But I'll hit a mock draft or two. I got to figure out who the Dolphins' running back is. I don't know that stuff sometimes. Is A-Chain still there?
Yeah, I think
Just
so.
happens that he's an A&M guy. I figured it out. All right, that's it for my work week this week, which is quite nice. So we're gonna get onto the Stadium Club in Tiger Stadium, meet with the Alumni Association, do some chatting with a lot of the coaches around campus. Looking forward to that. Taylor will take the wheel tomorrow, and I'll be back on Monday. If you missed any of today's show, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your sound, Google as well. And of course on YouTube, our 2 football channels, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. Always appreciate it if you check those out, like, subscribe, rate, and review. Matt's going to drive you home. Have a great Thursday. I am back Monday for another edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years. You're doing something for 40 years, you kind of got it figured out, and they do over there. They're a certified Generac dealer. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means that they're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac generator sales. Every single Generac home standby generator that you get from Boudreaux's Electrical comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty. They're going to use the highest quality in tubing, wiring, and the most of the installation of that Generac home standby generator is going to be done underground. Protect yourself from power outages. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that storm's not going to knock your power out. Storms are inevitable around here in South Louisiana. Give yourself the peace of mind that comes with that Generac home standby generator. The number is 225-300-9389 or 985-397-1562. It's Boudreaux's Electrical. Check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com. That website, boudreauxelectrical.com.